Hello, adventurers, and welcome to the MicFlayers podcast, coming to you in the form of a contract that was given to you by that mysterious cloaked figure in the tavern. I'm your host, Conor O'Brien, and joining me as always is my co-host, Martin O'Dwyer.
Hey Connor, it's Greg. What's going on?
I'm doing well, buddy. How are you getting on today?
I'm doing solid. I would say solid is a good word. It's been an eventful start to the new year, but less said about that, the better.
It is late. It is like coming up on 9:30 at night, and I think we're both actually very tired at the moment.
If you couldn't tell from the bags under my eyes, yeah, I'm a little tired, but I'm excited. I'm looking forward to this. I'm excited to talk about what we're going to talk about today. I think it'll be a fun chat.
Yeah, actually, it's fun because it's a weird thing. As long as we've been playing, what we're going to talk about today is in one topic, we'll say, is something that I personally have not delved into before, and I actually found it super interesting. So, Martin, today I thought it'd be kind of interesting if we talk about how other people, maybe people listening, can get into D&D, how you can start playing D&D, and what it takes to get started in the hobby. Because honestly, it can seem like a bit of a hurdle, but really D&D has a very, very low bar of entry as long as you're willing to do just a little bit of reading.
Yeah,
it's a very low bar of entry.
It's definitely intimidating from the outset, particularly because I know you've probably done it too, but I have friends who don't play D&D, and I've been like, oh my god, let me show you this hilarious clip from this podcast I watch called Critical Role, and it's like something dumb Grog did in campaign 1 that's just universally funny and everyone gets it, and then I think probably, I'm not to say that kind of weirds people out, but I think just people are see how much is involved with your character and everything, and it can look very intimidating from the outset, but realistically it's more like a series of small tasks you do that just you gradually build on as you play more.
I get the opposite effect from that, where I'll be like, oh my god, you gotta check out this hilarious thing that happened in this D&D podcast, watch this. And then I'll show them, and I'm like, "Did you
yeah.
And they're like, "That's just a bunch of people sitting at a table." And I'm like, "No, but you got to imagine what they're imagining." Yeah, because that's how no, okay.
Yeah, or you have to do the thing where you're like, look, let's watch a funny video, and you hit play on the video, and then you immediately pause it and go, right, context.
Yeah,
and you look like Charlie Day, just going, this person and this person and this person. No, I'm not crazy, I swear.
But this guy's brother, but they don't know that until season 2.
Yeah,
and it's just, oh my god.
And he killed her father, but she doesn't know. That thing, and you look like the psycho, and the rest of your friends are like,
yeah,
we'll watch this because we're your friend.
Before I show you this 2-minute YouTube video, allow me to show you my 35-minute PowerPoint presentation on why this is funny.
Yeah. Do you have a moment to spare to talk of our Lord and Master, Matt Mercer?
Yeah, it's honestly trying to explain. I find one of the initial hurdles of getting into the game is understanding the concept of it's a bunch of adults sitting at a table playing make-believe and no one being serious.
Yeah,
getting people over that can be a hurdle initially.
Yeah, because it's funny as well. The ideas people have, because the most common one that I've had, because in my previous job, I was very open. I was very open about loving D&D, and there was a couple of people in the office that played D&D as well. So it would be well known that I played D&D, and some and one of my friends that I work, he was an older guy. One day I was just standing outside work with him while he's having a smoke, and he was like, "So explain this D&D thing to me. I saw you posting about it." So I was like, "Do you all just sit around and play on a board game and imagine what's happening?" And I was like, "Kinda, but no board game." And then I kind of tried to explain it to him, and the best way I could think of explaining it to him at the time was okay, so one person writes a story and the rest of us play characters in it, but we can also influence the story. And anytime you want to do something, you basically will have to roll a dice, and that determines how well you do it.
That's a fairly solid explanation to it.
Yeah, it was a bit bare bones, I thought, but that was kind of the best way I could explain to him, and he still didn't quite get it. But I think a lot of the time, probably the best way to actually introduce someone to it is to be like, "Hey, if you're interested, do you want to sit down and watch a game, or come by for an hour and sit down and watch and see how we play, and see what it's like?" And I think that's a much better way of doing it, because I think as well with or you could link someone on a podcast and be like, "Hey, if you've time to spare, this is you can kind of get an idea of how it goes." But I think probably the best option is hey, if you want to sit in on one of our games, you can have a watch and see how we play and see how it works.
Yeah, either watching other people play, whether that's on a podcast or a YouTube video or in person, is because just seeing it in action. I'm just that way in general. I learn by doing and seeing someone do it. Don't tell me how to do it. Show me how to do it, and then I'll just replicate that. That's me kind of in every facet of life.
I believe that's called being a kinesthetic learner.
That's very interesting, and I'm going to Google that later so I can learn more about it. But yeah, no, that's absolutely what it is for me. It's actually really funny when you mentioned about trying to explain that it's a board game without a board game. There's a very funny scene in season 2 of Community, the episode entitled "Advanced Dungeons and Dragons."
I've actually seen
it's
that
a great
episode.
It is a bit where Troy looks at the table. They all have their character sheets, and Troy looks at the table and says, "Shouldn't there be some pieces or something to Jenga?" And then Abed actually gives a very proper explanation. He's like, no, this is a role-playing game. It takes place entirely within our collective imaginations. And then Abed goes, ooh, Neil. Troy goes, ooh, Neil. Yeah, it's a good explanation in that, it's a shared storytelling experience. What I wanted to talk about and what I mentioned a minute ago, actually, 2 seconds, I have to start a timer, which I always forget to do at the start of the podcast because apparently that's just who I am. This is why we always run over on our podcast, because I never set a bloody timer. So what I wanted to talk about and what I was looking up earlier on before the podcast, I've never once looked at the basic rules. And by that I mean I've never looked at the basic rules handout that is free on the Wizards of the Coast website. Obviously, I have the player's handbook and stuff like that, and I've read it cover to cover. But I was looking through it today, and honest to God, I was shocked at how much they give you for free.
Yeah.
You can run a level 1 to 20 campaign. If you're resourceful enough, you can run a level 1 to 20 campaign without paying a single dollar, euro,
and
pound,
then
whatever.
You could even just go back and go through all the Unearthed Arcana on the website and get those. Because
they're all extra classes. So basically, for those who don't know, I've kind of looked at it and kind of the different levels of buy-in you can have with D&D. The absolute bare minimum that you need to run this game is you need to go online to Wizards of the Coast and download the basic rule set. What you get in that, I was really kind of shocked at how much they give you in this. So you get 4 classes, 4 races, selection of spells, a decent selection of monsters, and even some magic, some kind of more common magic items. By that I mean there's a couple of rares and stuff in there, but I mean like the ones you'd find people would be liking to have. They aren't very obscure. So they give you, in terms of races, both hill and mountain dwarf, wood and high elf, both types of halfling, and then humans.
That's super solid.
That's your fellowship right there.
Yeah, Mountain Dwarf is in terms of like your starting stat bonuses, Mountain Dwarf is one of the best races you can choose if you're just all about
2 and 2.
Yeah, 2 and 2. Like if you're just all about optimizing your character and you don't and you're just looking like the best build and you want to go like that numerical thing, like Mountain Dwarf, hell of a race.
Mountain Dwarf's great, very great. So they give you those 2 straight off. Great. You have your elves, good magic users. You have halflings, which are make like good rogues or anything. But obviously, you can mix and match.
Halfling barbarian, man. Halfling barbarian. Death to kneecaps everywhere.
And then human, and then you get they're a little bit tight on because you only get 1 subclass for each of the classes they give you, but they give you a light cleric.
Yeah, sorry, go on. I was just going to say I don't think they're bad ones either. Like
no, they're kind of your. I don't want to say they're the basic class for each subclass for each of these because that sounds bad, but they are kind of the quintessential of that particular class. Yeah. So they give you the life cleric, which is basically the extra healing cleric.
Yeah, pretty much the best healer you can have.
Absolutely, yeah. They give you the champion fighter, which
solid and simple.
I often give out about the champion fighter being a little bit bland, which is funny because that's the exact opposite of the argument I gave as to why fighters are really good because they don't have a lot of flavor.
The only issue with that, I think the reason it's included in a starter set is that it's most of what you have to pay attention to is passive rather than active. Like you don't have to choose to activate an ability; it's pretty much always on, and like champion fighter, crit on a 19 or a 20, and then as you
Yeah,
level, crit from 18, 19, or 20. Oh
yeah,
man,
exactly. Yeah.
so good.
So that's really really good. Rogue or thief, rogue thief.
Iconic.
Um, yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then you have your evocation wizard.
Hmm.
So that's right. That's your support, your tank, your specialist, and your blaster, your glass cannon.
Absolutely.
I mean that's a perfectly rounded party right there. And the thing is, they you can if you buy that's the basic rule set that you can get there. That's entirely free. You download a PDF. There, it's all there, ready for
I
you to
believe it
go.
also includes character sheets in it too.
Well, that the basic rule set has the blank slate one, so you can
Mm.
print off. The starter set, which you can get, which costs about 20 quid. And that comes with dice and the 4 or 5, I think 5 pre-made characters.
Oh no, sorry, that's what I meant. Was like the classic traditional like blank one with the dragon on the side and stuff that you just fill
Yeah,
in.
yeah. Sorry, there is a template for that at the end of the PDF. And I'm like, but I mean, even just that's 4 and 4. You can make any combination of those classes and races.
Mhm.
Just even a few it's not all the backgrounds, but there's like maybe 6 or 7 backgrounds too. You can make some really good combinations in there. It's actually funny because I was reading through it earlier on, and I'm looking at it, and I was thinking to myself, oh, I'd actually kind of love to do like a level 1 to 10 campaign and tell you guys you can only pick stuff that appears in the basic rule set. I thought that'd be very cool.
Ooh, that's an interesting challenge.
Yeah, so only life cleric, champion fighter, rogue thief, evocation wizard. That'd be a very interesting campaign for players who are advanced as our party is. You
Full
know?
plate mail, great axe user, champion fighter.
That would work. That works perfect.
I was like,
Great axe.
what's the most amount of damage you can do with one of these builds?
But like that's great. Like I said, you get a selection of spells. I don't think you get the entire spell list for cleric or wizard, but you get a decent one.
Yeah.
And then the monster selection in this is better than that's in the player's handbook, because you get basically all those like humanoid ones and the animals and stuff like that are kind of basic ones in the player's handbook. They've also thrown in adult red dragon, like what's it, young green dragon, griffins, stone golems, flesh golems, like a handful of other monsters that would make for some really really good adventures.
Yeah.
Um,
I think they've done a
yeah,
good job of including like sort of iconic examples of each part of what you
yeah,
need to play a D&D. Like, you've got, like you're saying there, you've got like your kind of not cliche, I was saying like not cliche, but your archetypical like subclasses for each of the classes,
yeah.
and then you've
Absolutely.
got the like I said, the fellowship in terms of like the races, and then you've also got like red dragon. Like adult red dragon is pretty much, it's like that or a beholder are like the D&D monsters.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. It's so iconic. You could. I was looking at it. I was kind of going through the list, and I'm like, what do we have here? And what could you do? And I'm like, yeah, with what's there, you can play the Hobbit adventure. You can go to the mountain, fight the red dragon. There's wargs on the list. There's bandits. There's orcs. There's a whole bunch of stuff.
I'd be curious if that was intentional.
Maybe. Oh, I would love to
But
think it is.
wizards in the
But you
Tolkien
can,
estate don't have the greatest history.
well, yeah, let's not get into that. There's a reason they're called halflings.
Yes. A
But,
legal reason.
legal reasons that they're called halflings. But yeah, I was actually kind of blown away at how much they give you in this free supplement. They even give you magic items, like they have goggles of night, a couple of wands, a plus 1, 2, 3 armor, plus 1, 2, 3 weapon. Gloves of swimming and climbing. There's a few things, and I was like, do you know what? Like, you can do this, right? The only thing you need, if you get these base rules, and then I actually looked online for like free dice rollers. Turns out Google just has one built into
Google
the
is
Google browser.
yeah.
And honestly, other than the fact that it doesn't have the fancy animations that D&D Beyond has,
And
it's
you can't,
pretty much on par.
like, and you can't roll advantage or disadvantage together. You just have to roll twice. But it's
That's
like
true, yeah.
surprisingly really good.
It does have a modifier thing, where you can add in like, I want a +5 modifier on this roll, and then you can roll the 20 and it'll add it automatically
That's
for
pretty
you.
cool.
Yeah. But yeah, honestly, it took me 3 seconds to type that in, and it immediately came up in the browser. You don't even need to buy dice. That's how easy it is to get into D&D. You get everyone open up your browser on your phone, type this in or whatever, and then get the basic rules open. Scribble together some character sheets. All the magic, combat, exploration rules are all included. Damage types and all that stuff. Oh my god, Martin! I just remembered the thing I wanted to talk about.
Okay, we're changing course.
Cancel the podcast. This is what we're talking. No, I'm going to note this down. I just remembered. I thought this was such an interesting talking point. I feel like such a dope. For context, about 3 hours ago ish, I thought of this thing I wanted to talk about with Martin. I was like, I'm going to note it down before I forget it again. I thought about this thing and I thought, that's an I'm bigging this up too much. People are going to be like, holy shit, Conor has the holy grail of questions. Do you know what? It's just an interesting talking point. But I was thinking about it and I thought to myself, this is really, really good. It'll be a good chat I can have with Martin. And then I forgot it, and then I couldn't remember. I'm like, I know it's like a good question, and it's like a one-line question. I can't remember what it is. And I was honestly the past like 3 or 4 hours trying to remember what the hell it was. And I told Martin before the podcast that I had a good talking point, and I forgot it. And then I told him also that I would cancel the whole goddamn podcast, and we'd start again. We won't start again. We're on a roll here.
We also spent about the last 2 hours before starting the podcast just every so often me going, remember it now? No, sorry, not a clue. Yeah, no.
Yeah, no. And then I'd given up hope, and then for no reason whatsoever, that sparked what I wanted to talk about. Sorry, just 2 seconds. I'm typing this out.
Yeah. So I think what Conor was saying to sum up while he's jotting that down is you would be surprised how easily you can get into D&D without paying a single cent. You just need to do a little bit of searching. I think it might be a good idea if we maybe link the free basic rules in the description of the video for anyone
if you
who's
guys are watching us on YouTube, we'll pop that down below. It's a PDF as you can download, and it's a decent size, and it has all the rules and everything. Even some really cool art, like they look like sketches or doodles, but it kind of adds to the simplicity of what you're getting in this. But yeah, honestly, like I'm the kind of person that if I see basic or starter, I tend to like. This is just me. I tend to throw myself headfirst into things. So if I saw that, I would tend to shy away from it. So I'm like, I don't want the basic set. I want the proper thing with all the rules. All the rules are in this. Totally. Like pretty much all the stuff you would ever need for running a game. I looked at it. I'm like, I could run a level 1 to 20 campaign here with just these rules. There's enough in it. I could do that.
Yeah. The only thing like it's you have everything you really need. It's more so just like. You might find a small lack of variety as compared to someone who is maybe like the player's handbook and the Dungeon Master and stuff.
Yeah, but and as well as that, like obviously you only have the classes and races presented to you to combine. So don't get me wrong. If you're first time players, though, that's what I'm saying. If you're first time players and you're like, oh, we want to play this game, you have loads here to work with.
Absolutely.
I mean, 4 classes and 4 races may not seem like a lot, but I mean. There really is a lot in here. You can mix and match those any which way. Like,
are feats in the basic set? I can't remember.
No, they mention feats, but it basically just gives you the basic explanation where they say feats are a thing. You'll find in the player's handbook on this page. You can take them when you would normally take an ASI.
Okay.
That's one thing I would do as well if I did run that 1 to 10 campaign. Using only these rules, I wouldn't let you guys take feats in the all ASIs.
Why do you hurt me so? Why do you?
I just think it'd be cool to get like a nice vanilla game going. I'll have you hunt down a red dragon and steal its gold.
Again, I can. If we're playing that, I'm playing a Dex character this time because I got blowtorched last time.
Well, yeah, can't be helped. Sorry.
Anyway, so are we changing tack here, or shall we continue on?
No, I got more to talk about on this. Okay. We'll come back.
Okay.
Stay tuned.
We'll start
later in the podcast when Conor talks about the ultimate talking point.
Ooh, because it's not because it's particularly good, just because it's the last one. Literally, it's the final.
It's the ultimate, exactly. Yeah, it's the final talking point. There are better talking points available. But what was I going to say?
You were talking about levels of buy-in.
Yeah, well, dice rolling. And like theater of the mind. Obviously, this will all take place at theater of the mind. For those who don't know, that is basically when you're not tracking your position in the fight on a board with pieces or anything like that. You all just act it out, and the DM knows in their head, right? I know the archer decided that he wanted to move away, so he's like 60 feet away. I know that the fighter is right up close with the troll currently, so you kind of do it out that way. Now, we talked briefly about the starter set. In the starter set, you have the starting quest, which takes you levels 1 to 5, which is the infamous Lost Mines of Phandelver.
Yes.
It is like the starting quest for a lot of people who played 5e because it's the first one that came out with the basic rules. I would like to offer an alternative. You would have to be willing to put the money in to buy an extra book, but this hooks me way more as a starting quest, and I got my copy of this before.
Dragon Heist.
What a Deep Dragon Heist is such a good level. It's levels 1 to 5, and it's honestly, again, you have to pay for it, which is kind of the downside. But if you're willing to throw some money at this is a great starting adventure. And it's so cool. It takes place in the city of Waterdeep, which is this huge metropolis city. You basically do some quests at the start, which involve like some crime syndicates and stuff like that. And in the end, then there's actually 4 separate ways of playing it. You choose a season. You go, spring, summer, autumn, spring, summer, fall, winter. And then based on what season you want to play the game, what time frame, there's a different big bad. So you're fighting a different big organization within the city based on the time of year you choose to set your adventure. And you basically have to the quest is that there's like 1 million gold dragons, which are the gold coins, somewhere in Waterdeep, and you've got to race other organizations to be the first group to find it. And it's really cool. There's a lot of stuff in it, and I think you kind of, like I said, it's level 1 to 5, so it's quite straightforward. That for me is a really, really good. It's a great starting adventure, and it's honestly the first adventure I read through where I thought, oh, I fully understand what's happening here. Some of the other adventures, particularly, let's say, Horde of the Dragon Queen, Tyranny of Dragons, I kind of look at them and honestly, they're a little hard to follow. Wizards of the Coast have refined their writing style in recent years. And honestly, that's the first one I looked at. I'm like, that's a great starting adventure. I cannot recommend it enough.
I think another one that would be solid as well if you don't want to use those starting adventures and you are willing to put in a little bit of money into it would be Icewind Dale. Rime of the Frost Maiden.
Very cool.
That's got some really cool low level. I think they've got it's built for like level 1 to 8 or 1 to 10. I think, isn't it?
Something like that. Yeah.
It's for a relatively low level, but it for sure has quests that will get you from level 1 all the way up through to like level 5 easily.
Oh yeah. I do think
some really cool ones
10
too.
is what they recommend or something. Yeah, but they've got some cool, creepy horror-ish elements in it. Not very horror, but some horror elements.
It's a really interesting setup as well in that you're basically traveling between 10 towns, completing different missions with different NPCs, and that'll have different results. So that would be one that I would recommend as well. If you're looking for something an alternative like pre-written 1 to 5 adventure.
Yeah, absolutely. Icewind Dale is fairly new, and honestly, actually follows a similar format in terms of how the DM running it will have to approach it, and that is, it has a similar layout to Dragon Heist in that sense, so it's super easy to follow as well. The next level of buy-in that I was kind of looking at, so obviously that's either free if you just want to pick up the rules online and use a dice roller in Google or something like that. Dead easy, takes all of 20 minutes to get set up. Other than that, or you can pay 20 quid to get the starter set, which gives you a few extra bits, including that Lost Mines of Phandelver. The next level would be buy the 3 core books.
Yeah.
So that's your Player's Handbook, your Monster Manual, and your Dungeon Master's Guide. Player's Handbook obviously tells you all the different players options, gives you way more races and classes you can play from.
Absolutely.
You get Dragonborn, Tiefling, you get Paladin, Barb, Warlock, everything like that.
Monk.
And then the Monster Manual gives you way more monsters than are included in the free rules. So there's a good selection in there. And then the Dungeon Master's Guide. You could almost argue the Dungeon Master's Guide isn't even really that necessary. I think if you have, especially if you have the free rules, they take some bits from the Dungeon Master's Guide and pop them into the free rules on just generally running the game from behind the scenes. But you could get away with not having that, and
Yeah, you could. Yeah.
I would still recommend it.
Oh yeah,
But
totally. That's all I was going to say. Is I still think that like if you're going to that level where you're willing to buy at least two of those books, that's like putting like around 40 quid down, in euro anyway, for these two books. If you're willing to do that and you're willing to put that money in it and you can afford to do it, I would absolutely recommend adding the DMG, the Dungeon Master's Guide, into that, because while you can argue that it's not necessary, particularly if you have the free rules that have some advice on DMing and stuff like that, I still think it's very good, particularly if you're not going to do a pre-written adventure and you're going to build your own world and work off that. It's got a lot of really, really good both advice and example cultures, example like pantheons, example
absolutely.
and like a bunch of other really good advice on stuff like making magic items, creating encounters, balancing encounters. So if I would say if you're going to that level of commitment and you can actually you can afford to do it, definitely pick up the 3 books.
Oh yeah, if you're gonna, honestly, if you're gonna buy 2, buy the 3. And
like
the thing is, like,
you never like it's not like it'll ever be, as long as 5th edition is still a thing. Like the DMG is still accurate and in date. They add little updates to it and little extra editions in like supplemental adventures or new books that come out. But like I've had the same DMG since like 2015, like, and it's been battered.
Mine's starting to come apart. Well, not quite, but I'm like, I try not to handle it too much because I know what if I do, it's going to come apart very soon. But yeah, I mean, like, you can pick up those 3 books. You can splurge and get your own set of dice each. There's plenty of people that do them online, whether you want to go to Amazon, or I'm particularly fond of Dakota Irish.
Yes, Dakota Irish is, I would highly recommend. Really, really good quality stuff. I'm great for like gifts as well. I've bought a bunch of Christmas gifts this year from that guy. Something
Same.
I
bought the odd dice from him.
Yeah, awesome. He made out like a bandit
with us, didn't he?
Sorry,
he made out like a bandit with us.
I think so. Yeah. But what a thought occurred to me there when you were saying it. So if you're okay with not having the physical books, a recommendation I would make that could actually work out cheaper for everyone involved. If you get D&D Beyond, which is Dungeons and Dragons official app / player website app, I guess. But that's got everything on it to like build characters. I think actually if you go on D&D Beyond, the basic rules that we were talking about earlier are included in that. You can actually use D&D Beyond from the get-go. And they do include dice on that too. They have a virtual dice roller, and it's actually excellent too. I always use it playing virtually. They have that on that as well. So with D&D Beyond, just saying, if you wanted to like try and minimize cost, you can, if you create a campaign as a DM, you can share content with your players. So if all of you wanted to go in together on like the 3 books, and everyone pays for the 3 books together, and you like split it into X, like between X number of people, you can kind of like minimize the cost there. And then just have like whoever's the DM buys the books, and then you can like content share with them then. And then if you at a later, you're good to go basically then. And then at a later stage, if you decide you want your own books, you can add them to it. But of course, you just won't have the physical thing. You'll have it digitally. But that has its own benefits in that you can carry like, I love having digital books. I love having like 10 books on this. It makes the life of a traveling DM a lot easier.
Yeah, I was thinking about it earlier on, and like I often wonder if I was to start playing now, would I get just the digital copies? Because that's the one downside of it, is you're kind of better off committing one way or the other, because otherwise you're doubling down. You're buying each book twice. I already had 10 plus of the books by the time D&D Beyond rolled around. And it's a great tool. And honestly, we've been using it now this campaign, and I'm never going back.
Totally.
It's so helpful. I can see all of your stuff, like on the Dungeon Master. I can see all my player stats and stuff. I don't need to be messaging you saying, hey, what's your con mod? And all this sort of stuff. Or, hey, how much health points do you have after the last fight? I can just go and check it. It's really, really great like that. Or, hey, how does that ability that Martin has work again. I want to check that for an upcoming fight, and I'll just go onto his page and check it. It's really helpful.
That isn't
And
ominous.
how many health points does Martin have? 5?
Lots. The answer is lots. Enough.
5 will be enough. Yeah, sure, he'll make it. Whatever. But yeah, like, so I often think, like, would I just go straight digital? And knowing what I know now about D&D Beyond, I would.
Yeah, I think I would too.
I'm the kind of person that likes having the physical copies as well. I really do. I have them all on display in the next room over, and I really love that. And I will continue to buy them physically.
Yeah.
But I'm also going to buy them digitally because I love what I get out of D&D Beyond. And actually, I don't even have all of them on D&D Beyond. Gavin, who's also in our game, has a bunch of them as well, and he has shared them. You could even buy different ones each.
Yeah,
you might say, I'm interested in this book, or I want to buy this adventure, but you don't want to buy that adventure. You can share them with each other as long as you're in the same campaign. And you can play adventures that only one of you has bought in a group of 4 or 5, you know?
Yeah, it's like I'm the same as you. Like when I started off playing, like D&D Beyond wasn't a thing. We had an unofficial player app that we used. And so I have I started very well. So I have like 5 or 6, I think. I think I have the 3 core that we're talking about. I think I have like Mordenkainen's Xanthars and Frost King's Thunder. That's the Storm King's Thunder. Sorry, Storm King's Thunder. So I had them, but I actually went and rebought all those on D&D Beyond. And the reason I was okay with it was, one, for the utility of it, just being able to bring those around, because I do travel to like a player's house to DM when we're DMing in person. And like lugging 6 books is a bit of a chore. So just to have it all on my phone or my laptop, whatever I'm bringing with me, super handy. Excuse me. But yeah, I think absolutely both saving on space and on money, because quite frequently D&D Beyond will do really like amazing sales around like the holidays or New Year. I think they do a summer sale as well. Like you can pick up if you get the right books and the right sale and the right discount is running, you can pick up like a lot of books. I have every book that's out on D&D Beyond so far, between a sale or I picked up an absolute crap ton of them, and just another, and you did it in that same sale, and like and I'm in your campaign, so you have content sharing that. So between what I have and what you have, I have literally every book covered.
Yep.
And it's
they do
just
bundles
so handy
as well.
Oh yeah, totally.
They do all the core books which have classes, races, stuff like that, and they pair them together, and they do that bundle at a discounted price. And they do a legendary bundle as well, which is literally everything. If you wanted to buy all 20-something books or whatever there is, and that's expensive. It's a lot of money. But if you want to do it, by all means.
I think there's some crazy one where it's like it's even more than the legendary one. It's like you get everything, and you also get everything that will ever come out.
Oh, I don't know about that. I wasn't.
I might be thinking of I might be thinking of a different thing. Sorry.
No, maybe, but like that'd be interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of it. Like, you know. Once you get to this point now where you're going to bind those 3 core books, whether you decide to do digitally or physically, whatever your kind of preference, like I said, regardless of whichever way you want to go, D&D Beyond's a great tool. Can't recommend that enough.
Absolutely fantastic.
But then after that, you can just buy books at your own leisure. You know, I mean,
totally.
I have a lot of the adventure books. I've never once ran any of those adventures. I've read through them, but never ran them, because I mostly want them for inspiration for my own homebrew. Or I want them for the monsters and extra magic items you get, which isn't a lot, but it's a little bit.
You pick up some very, very cool magic items in certain adventure modules.
Yeah, there's some great stuff, like and monsters as well. There's some really, really good ones in Tomb of Annihilation, for example. You get some great like jungle-based monsters, which are really cool.
I love Descent into Avernus personally, because it's just so metal.
Descent into Avernus has some just utterly brilliant stuff in it.
Yeah.
It's so, when I heard they were doing it and they were describing it as like Mad Max-ish, I was like, I'm there. Yeah. I'm so fucking there.
For anyone unfamiliar, it's basically like Mad Max in hell.
Yeah, I would say it's like Fury Road. They have all these huge demonic vehicles that are trudging through this hellish wasteland and stuff. It's super, super cool.
It's great.
But yeah, that's kind of like what I would call like an entry level.
Yeah.
You know, you have the bare minimal, and then if you're willing to go, hey, I'm a person that plays D&D, you can commit by buying those 3 books and whatever other books you feel you want at that point.
I would also just like a word of warning is to just don't like if it's your first time playing, definitely get the free stuff first, and maybe try your first game with the free stuff first, and maybe don't spend like €60, dollars, whatever on on these $3 only to play the game and go, oh wow, I really don't actually like this. I
Yeah,
don't think that'll
yeah,
happen personally, because I think if you're anyway inclined to play D&D and then play it and have a good experience with it, you'll probably be
yeah.
like, I want to play this all the time. But yeah, I would just say, yeah, definitely maybe test the waters with free stuff first.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, even, or play. Oh, God, I can't fucking speak. Okay, play with like the free stuff, or if you know someone who runs a game
Yes.
and they already have the stuff, if they run a game for you and you play in their game and you're like, oh, I really enjoyed this. I'd like to dungeon master myself. That's what happened with me, and that's kind of what happened with you as well. I think
Absolutely, yeah.
we played in a game that someone else ran, and they were like, we really enjoy this. We'd like to run our own story, and we did that. We started our own games. That's also a great way to do it as well if you have friends. But if you're the first person in the group, the very first person in your friend group who's like, guys, I heard of this thing called Dungeons and Dragons. I'd like to try and play it.
Yeah.
You can be the person to download the free rules. Fair warning, you're probably also going to be the person who's running the game.
For
realistically.
life.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, Connor.
Dungeon masters are dungeon masters for like, hey, I don't mind. I was gonna bring it up as well because like honestly, it can seem like maybe from the outside, like, oh, if you're the dungeon master, you're running things, so you're not really playing or having fun, or you're having fun.
Oh no,
It
you
is
get
one of
to
the most
play.
rewarding things in the world.
I always describe it as like, so there's like, because I have a party 4, so there's, okay, so if anyone is ever like, oh, Joe, you're the dungeon master, do you not get to play? And I was like, oh no, there's only 4 characters in this game I don't get to play, and they're the players.
That's true. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's exactly it. Because you play every other NPC and every bad guy and everything else. You absolutely get to play, and it's so fun. And it's great when you plan something or work something out, and then you're like, oh, this will be really good, and my players are going to love when they find out that this person is actually this person. And then when you see the reactions on their faces, because they're like, oh, you see the disguise self drop, and the person under the illusion is actually the person who sent you on the quest, and they're the bad guy, and blah blah blah. And then
And they're actually cake.
they're actually what?
And they're actually cake.
Oh, cake. Oh yes. Oh my god. Yeah, sorry. I'm tired. It took me a second to get that.
It's grand. It's a dated meme at this stage.
Yeah. But we recorded this in 2019.
Oh God, no! Please, I don't want to live through 2020 again.
No. Put ourselves into like a medically induced coma for the full year to skip over. But yeah, and then there is what I like to call the committed level of playing D&D, which I think we're both at.
Yeah,
Where
yeah.
everyone buys their own custom miniatures from Hero Forge, and then we also buy miniatures that we either paint or get in pre-painted.
Personalized
we get
dice.
maps. We get Dwarven Forge pre-made terrain, which costs an absolute fortune. And we blow all of our money on Dungeons and Dragons. That's the addict level. That's where we're at.
I prefer the term dice goblin.
Dice goblin, yes. I'm all my dice. No, not those dice. Those are bad dice.
Yeah, I love me those shiny math rocks.
Yeah, shiny math rocks. That's it. Yeah, I honestly, if you're a person who, if I'm being perfectly honest, I don't know why a person who has never played D&D would be listening to episode 5 of our podcast of all things. But if you're a person who is watching this, and you're like, D&D seems interesting, or I'd like to play, or whatever. Oh, just do it. Just jump in. Download the free rules. Get a couple of your friends together. By force if you need to. Come on, be like, just play the goddamn game.
Force of will, just to specify. Don't kidnap anyone.
Fun.
Yeah, don't kidnap anyone.
No, don't. The MicFlayers podcast would like to state that we do not endorse killing or kidnapping anyone.
Yes, absolutely, categorically.
But yeah, no, like,
except when they're your players in the game.
Yes, that's okay. That's perfectly fine. But yeah, no, I definitely try to convince 2 or 3 friends to get together. Say, I'll run the game, get the rules, have them make up a dwarf cleric and a human fighter, elven wizard, and whatever, and then throw in a red dragon, and boom, instant fun.
Also, depending on level, also instant death. Exactly. Red Dragon might be a bit far for maybe your first encounter. Maybe start off with like Bandits.
Bandits, wolves are a classic. Goblins, giant rats in the basement. That was the opening mission in the Fighters Guild in Oblivion.
Yes. No, bandits were the first. Were my guys' first ones, I think. Yeah, I'm
Wasn't
pretty sure it
IG
was. Yeah.
fight? IG fight zombies this campaign, and I think
Yeah.
the first campaign was crabs.
Oh, was it not like? I think it was. We went underground, and then there was like a spider, and then there were also like giant lizards, because I remember we had to fight
Oh,
giant
there
lizards.
was.
Yeah.
There was like 3 giant lizards, and then you got to the central chamber because you were told, "Hey, there's some crabs making nests or whatever."
Yeah.
I don't think crabs do that, but fuck it, why not? My magic crabs make magic crab nests in the sewers. What's not to get? And yeah, and you had
What,
to
you
clean
never
them
you
out.
never seen a sewer crab before?
Yeah. And then you fought the crabs, and then I threw a second wave of enemies, which was zombies
Yes,
at you.
yes.
Good times, simpler times. But yes, so yeah, start small, and then you're all working up to climbing that mountain, killing the dragon that's nested at the top, and stealing its tons and tons of treasure. Martin,
Mhm.
it is time for the
Oh,
question of all questions,
the ultimate.
the ultimate question, the great. Okay, this is not going to seem as good as as I bigged it up to be.
No,
Let's just get
you've
that.
built it up now. You swing for the fences or nothing. Come on.
It's cards on the table. It's an adequate question. So I thought of this earlier, and I thought this is actually a very interesting topic because we've been playing D&D a long time, and this is a take I don't know that we've ever discussed before. When it comes to damage types,
Yes.
what damage types, if any, do you consider that can be non-lethal?
Ooh, non-lethal.
Or can damage types, can all damage types be non-lethal? Or can you specify whether you want to do lethal, non-lethal in any attack? If you're casting a fire-based spell, does that always kill people? I'm curious what your take is on this.
Okay, first of all,
Like I said, it's a horribly disappointing question.
I actually quite like that question because I'm a nerd about these things, and just because of how my brain works, whenever someone poses a question like that to me, I immediately jump to like the most extreme example to try and break the scenario. So immediately I went, well, you can't say disintegrate is non-lethal.
Yeah, I would say that's fair.
Yeah, but at the same time, I would say force damage in general could be.
Yeah, exactly. Like for me, I okay, disintegrate because it's disintegrate.
It's in what's the word? An exception to the rule.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You are straight up erasing matter.
Yeah.
So I don't think that could be. But I think it's perfectly fine because it's when I think of force damage, I think of like a lot of actual. It's like being hit with like
Yeah.
an invisible wall.
Impact damage is almost what I think of it as.
Exactly. Yeah. So like if you wanted to cast Eldritch Blast, and that's more like a magical punch to the face than it is, disintegrating you, I think that's kind of fine.
Yeah.
I think that could be non-lethal.
See, I think there's actually quite a lot of width to give players of saying with calling non-lethal stuff. Like I was saying, like to be honest, like a lot of the things that I would say, no, you can't do that non-lethally. Like if someone's like, I'm gonna cut his head, extremes. If someone's like, I'm gonna cut his head off, or I'm gonna cut their throat,
non-lethal cutting of their head,
or like I'm gonna slash their throat, but I'm gonna make it non-lethal. I was like, you better have fast hands to get on that neck wound then. But like,
that's
as a general rule, anything bludgeoning, I'd say you can do non-lethal.
Definitely.
If players want to get creative with that, like if they have a dagger, but they're like, okay, I'm going to flip the dagger the other way, and I'm going to like crack them in the skull with the pommel to knock them out. Yeah, go for it, absolutely, and I will absolutely let you roll sneak attack on top of that. Yeah, I say like most things, like anything. I think that doesn't like in its actual spell description or damage description say it like, because like I think I'm immediately kind of jumping to spells here, because with weapons it's you basically have the 3 types: bludgeoning, piercing, slashing.
Yeah, I think like you said, bludgeoning is a definite thing where you could be like, that's like
Yeah,
most police have a form of baton or nightstick around the world.
Yeah.
They carry those because they're not a big fuck off sword.
Yes.
They're intended to be non-lethal, so I think that's fine. Slashing and piercing, like you said, it's different when you turn the barrel to hit them with the pommel.
Yeah.
That's one thing, or with the butt of your spear. But can you shoot an arrow non-lethally?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. In the leg, kind of thing.
Kneecap.
Oh god, let's not open that kind of
Yeah.
worms.
But like, there are, but see, it's the problem with like non-lethal, right? In that like it's a fine line between non and lethal, you know. So like if you're an archer, you got to get really creative about how you're going to knock someone unconscious with a piece of metal stuck to a piece of wood going very fast.
Mhm.
Uh,
There was if you ever played the Thief game that came out in
yeah,
20 something, they had blunt arrows, which was
yes.
an interesting
If
thing.
someone, if the character they're like shooting at is wearing armor, I'd actually give them a lot of leeway. Like if they have like a metal helmet on, and
Mm.
someone wants to do non-lethal damage and like shoot them in the head with an arrow while the person is wearing a metal helmet and just like rattle their brain around inside their head, because like physically it wouldn't work because the arrow would just deflect off the helmet because the head and the helmet has way more mass, and it's not, the arrow ain't punching through the plate.
Well, then you have the arrow
The
hitting
bodkins,
the
yeah,
helmet and rattling and making noise.
exactly.
That's thunder damage then, so that's a totally different story.
But that's what I mean. Like, for like sort of like bludgeoning damage, I would say yeah, wholesale. Like unless you're hitting someone with a mountain, yeah, you can specify non-lethal damage. You know what I mean?
Oh god, I cast earthquake non-lethal.
I'm gonna drop this boulder on a guy.
Yeah.
Non-lethal damage. So what? Like it
okay.
lands on his ankle.
Yeah, well, I mean, not lethal, but he's alive, but he ain't
Yeah.
living anymore. Yes, okay. So that's
I'd say yeah, for
force,
weapons in
bludgeoning.
general, in the general
Yeah.
case for weapons, I would say yes, you can absolutely
Okay.
specify
Okay.
those as non-lethal because someone can lose consciousness from blood loss, but if you stop the blood loss, they won't die.
That's fair. I think that's fair.
I would
So
so
maybe
I'd-
it's a bit more nuanced to it, where like you're saying, it depends on the circumstance, and if you decide I'm going to shoot this person in the leg with an arrow to incapacitate them non-lethally, do you then have to run up and make a medicine check so that person does not
Yes.
bleed out?
So I would say for something like slashing or piercing, if you're trying, it's a bit of a contradiction of tactics because if you're trying to like knock someone unconscious, but you're like, I'm gonna stab them in the face to knock them unconscious. It's like you'll definitely knock them unconscious, but they'll probably very quickly progress from unconscious to dead. Like, so I would say, Joe, if someone wants to do a thing like Joe, I'm thinking of in my head immediately. I'm drawn to like the old school samurai showdown, Joe, where the two guys pass each other. You see that there's a flash on the screen. They both stand.
Yeah.
One of them goes down. Then, like I would say, like if you wanted to do that and then immediately run over and like do a medicine check on them, yeah, I would say yeah. If you want to do like flashy non-lethal damage like that, that's no problem. So I think it's in general yes for weapons, and then once you get onto spells, as it is with all of D&D, stuff gets a little more complex.
Let me pose this one to you. Thunder. Sound damage. I was thinking about this one earlier. I think you could very easily do non-lethal thunder. In fact, like sound,
100%.
like flashbangs and stuff in real life are used to disorient and stun people.
Totally.
I think you could totally do a sound-based non-lethal damage. Cast a thunder wave or something like that.
Yeah.
And say that's non-lethal. By
Like,
the way,
thunder in its description and just in what it is, like both in D&D and in nature, it's a concussive thing. Like it's like
it rattles, it shakes things, and
100%.
disorients them. Yeah.
Like if like if a lightning bolt somehow managed to hit near enough, you would like not like Joe, or like even Joe, just like if we had like an actual clap of thunder like right in your ear, you're not like that like it's the same thing happens like pressure waves from explosives. It like blows out your eardrums, so your balance is shot, your head is ringing, your vision's probably like you're probably seeing like little suns starting to bloom in your vision.
You see it in war movies the whole time where the grenade
Oh,
goes
yeah.
off next door, the shell hits really nearby, and they look up and everything's blurry.
Oh,
and
totally.
their
Like
vision's
shell
wobbling.
shock is a great is a great like I did like so yeah, totally. I would say like thunder, absolutely. Lightning too. Like people survive being hit by lightning. You know?
That was my next question. I was going to ask. Okay, I was going to say, what about lightning damage, Martin? Like like a taser, and I was purposely going to lead you down the taser route, and
Yeah.
then go, what about a lightning bolt that melts down?
Yeah, like I said, I go straight for the extremes, and I think in these questions, but like, it's very rare to happen. People actually being struck by lightning bolts, but like, there's more than like you can count on one hand of people who have survived being struck by lightning. Now, it's
Yeah.
not like it's probably not fun. Like I think
No,
I
when you
saw a
get
story.
those vein scars that run up your body.
Those are really cool though.
I mean, it's pretty metal. I'm
Yeah.
not going to lie. Yeah.
I do remember hearing a story about a guy got hit by he got hit by a lightning bolt out jogging in a thunderstorm, and he was wearing a cross on a chain, and it melted the metal of the chain into the skin of his neck. Like he has a silver ring around his neck now, from where the chain melted in. Like
That's like something you see in Cyberpunk,
very.
where you have the little like implants, like silver and gold implants on your skin.
Yes, yes, yes. But yeah, like
Uh,
I would totally say you can like non-lethal lightning if you call it, and again is if you're willing to run up and immediately like make a medicine check to try it, like particularly if you're offering to do that. Like, can I use like if a player was like, can I hit this guy like a 4th level lightning bolt, but I want to make it non-lethal, and to do so I'm willing to run up and try a medicine check. And like I'd be like, yeah, totally. And if that medicine check fails, I'm marking down a death save. Like, and I'm like, right,
yeah.
you've 2 more shots, but 1 shot if you really badly mess this up, you have 1 shot. Like,
All right. What about cold damage? Can you give someone non-lethal frostbite?
I'm pretty sure it's like I think you can like physically pass out if you get too cold. Like hypothermia is a thing. Like,
Yeah. You can, and like hypothermia is something you can suffer from, but come back from. Like
yeah.
frostbite, obviously, is very long term
Oh
damaging.
yeah.
You can lose limbs and stuff, but you can probably like hypothermia as someone with a cone of cold.
Yeah, it's actually the
I'm
exact
picking all
spell.
the big fuck you spells. All
Oh
the
yeah.
spells you cast
Cold.
when you're like,
Oh
I'm really sick of this baddie. Cone of cold, fireball, lightning bolt. They're all the
yeah.
big ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would think cold could work. Like
Totally.
a quick blast, and suddenly all the heat is just sucked from your body. If you've ever been like really proper cold to the point where you're shaking and you can't lift your arms or move, or you can't even think. Like it's like a shock from the cold as well.
Yeah.
I would say that works pretty well.
Anyone who's ever jumped into like a glacier lake.
There you go. Go
Like,
swimming on Christmas Day.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, like
What about fire? Can you non-lethally scorch someone?
I think that's another one that depends on the spells, right? Because firebolt, maybe. Yeah, I would say maybe the cantrip firebolt, because it specifically says it doesn't set anything on fire that people wear.
Yeah, it's more like a blast that kind of fizzles out almost straight away.
Yeah, it's more just like it's a burn thing, and like people can pass out from pain. So like if you were to like burn someone bad enough that they just like passed out from the pain, I would be willing to allow people to be like, yeah, not lethal firebolt, but like immolation, I would say no.
I was going to suggest immolation. That literally says you set someone on fire, though. That sets them on fire, and they take half. So it's normally 8d6, which is the damage of a firebolt.
Yeah.
Or fireball, I should say. And then on subsequent turns, they continue to take 4d6 every single turn. So that person's on fire, and even when they pass out, they are continuing to be burnt. Like,
and even fireball, I'd be tempted to be like, okay, almost. Like I'm going back and forth on it in my head now as we talk about it.
I'm trying to find your line for some of these. I want to see where you'll draw the line.
I'm just trying, like, because the reason I'm going back and forth on fireball, right, to give some logic to why I'm kind of wishy-washy on this. Fireball is a 3rd level spell, which in reality is fairly low. It's a low enough level spell. It's also just a burst of flame. Like, there's no explosion. There's no concussive force. Like,
that's not how I play it.
If you read the rules, as it says, it's just a burst of flame. There's no explosion. There's no concussive force to it. Like, you couldn't use fireball to take down a castle's walls.
It's like a wash of flame as opposed to it's a wash of flame over as opposed to the bombs that are placed in the drainage ditch of Helm's Deep, which had a explosive shockwave. That's exactly. More similar to thunder, actually, when you think about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I wouldn't say, like, so I'd say, like, if it's like a third level fireball, maybe, yeah, I would be like, cool. But if you're like ninth level fireball, I'd be like, ashes. He turns to ashes.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
I mean,
so,
if you're pumping that much damage into it, and that's what I was thinking about with lightning bolt as well. Third level lightning bolt's pretty hefty,
yeah,
but you could argue that you're just trying to like electrocute them to the.
yeah.
Okay, electrocute actually means death. Now I think about it, but you want to shock them to
No,
the
you,
point of
you can get
unconsciousness.
you can get electrocuted without dying.
Does it not by definition
You
mean that
can
if that person
die
was
from
electrocuted?
electrocution, but like you can get electric. Like I suppose this is not an important discussion.
This is not a science podcast.
Yeah,
Clearly, we
and
we were
neither of
wrong.
us are scientists either. But yeah, like I think most stuff can be non-lethal, and it's just in the extremes you need to make it a call as you see fit as the dungeon master.
Yeah, there's other ones
But
I'm looking at
if
here.
you have other examples, I'm more than happy to test my limits.
Well, there's a couple here that I think like psychic is like you could like
Oh,
almost
totally,
mind stun someone until they
totally.
fall unconscious. You could do poison, and the poison could be almost
Drow poison.
like drought poison, where you get knocked unconscious because you've been poisoned.
Yep.
There's one that I find very hard in any capacity to say this is non-lethal, and that's acid.
Yeah, yeah. Like, do you know,
Like
I'm
even acid splash, which is a cantrip, you're literally you're throwing
yeah.
acid at somebody. It's
this is gonna sound fucked up, but people also do say.
go on.
Right, acid splash. No, actually, yeah. If it's the killing blow, if it's the thing that takes the person to zero with acid, I would say no. You cannot specify non-lethal acid damage.
There, I got it. I found the line.
Yeah, it's. I was about to say it, and then like every picture I've seen of someone who has been burned with acid flashed through my mind, and I was like, no. Do you know what? No, that's the worst thing you could do to someone.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I built an NPC for my players to accompany my players on a mission, and she's an Eldritch Knight, and I put Tasha's caustic brew
Oh, nice.
on her spell list because I just want to see how it works. But like, if you just the idea of just basically holding your hand up and doing like a constant stream of acid on someone, that's horrifying. I would like set me on fire or blow me up. Don't fucking melt me with acid, like.
Yeah, I mean, like a lot of the other spells, when you look at them, when you look at like cold, fire, lightning, yeah, a lot of thunder, a lot of them will, like, I don't know.
Necrotic damage is another one I would struggle with actually.
I was going to say it in a minute. Yeah, necrotic damage is like necrotic damage is the definition of inserting death into someone, like, by whatever means you do that, whatever spell. But I'm like, yeah, you're literally like you're injecting them with death.
How would you like to insert death?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think there's a lot of different damage types there that can be kind of. Obviously, they're all designed to be destructive to monsters and players, but some of them are more or less destructive to environments. Yeah. You've seen Alien. Acid just eats everything. It burns. Like, if you cast a fireball in a courtyard, everything will get kind of scorched and black. But it'll be fine. A forest obviously will burn down.
It's like an instant thing as well. It's just like, and then it's gone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it cinders out immediately. Like Tasha's, if I remember, I haven't actually read the spell in a bit now. Is Tasha's the one where you maintain a constant streak turn to turn?
Yeah.
You're literally a fire hose of acid. It's so fucked up.
It's so brutal, and like, geez, like
that's how you breach into a castle. Imagine being outside of a door of a castle and they have it sealed from the inside.
Oh yeah.
And you're like, that's no sweat. And then Tasha's caustic spew or whatever. What's it called?
Tasha's caustic brew.
Caustic brew, and then you literally just go right fire hose, and you're just like streaming acid all over the walls. The door's coming down in minutes.
Like if you were a spellcaster who specializes in acid, one, respect, that's unusual. Two,
really fucked up.
Find help. You may have issues you do not realize.
I'm not gonna lie, I thought about it because there's a couple more acid-based spells now. I thought, well, I always think about it from the
Melf's acid arrow.
Melf's acid arrow, acid splash. But I mean, like, I've always thought about it from the perspective of playing an alchemist, like an artificer alchemist. I'm like, you'd have to take all the acid spells. It's science, so you gotta have some acid there.
It's science.
It's science, so insert some acid.
You'd have to take acid. It's science. Connor.
That's going on a t-shirt.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's honestly, it's yeah. I was kind of curious, Martin. These are a lot of things. I came up with this today, and I thought about it. I was like, do you know what? I think it's like you said, it's very circumstantial.
Yeah.
If you're gonna cast a 9th level lightning bolt, you're trying to kill that person.
Yes,
But
absolutely.
if you want to cast lightning bolt at its base level or witch bolt or something like that, you can kind of pull it off like it's an extra strong taser.
Yeah.
Likewise with a lot of other ones there as well.
And also you have to take into account that sometimes the things you're fighting are a lot bigger than humans and would require obviously a lot of the time you're fighting monsters, you're probably going to end up killing the monster. But if it's like a capture mission or something, and like you're fighting, like you have to fight, I don't know, something big.
You did a capture mission.
Oh,
on
the
Stone
Etten.
Giant before.
Yeah, the Etten, wasn't it?
On the witch?
It was an Etten, wasn't it? The two-headed giant.
No, you fought one in the Colosseum in the first campaign.
Yeah,
but you had to go and capture a stone giant.
Yes, yeah,
up the mountains, and that was a non-lethal capture for a monster. Yeah,
yeah. Like there's a reason why cows aren't bothered by the fucking electric fence, and if one of us grabs a hold of it, we start screaming. It's because they're way bigger and their hides are thicker. So if you apply the same logic to like a stone giant or a dragon, it's like, yeah, if you want to like non-lethally drop something with an 8th level lightning bolt, but it's a huge creature, you know what, I'd give it a good consideration, probably allow it.
Like. Yeah, absolutely, definitely. But Martin, I think that's all the time we have for today.
Wow, that went really quickly. I wasn't expecting that.
That went really quick. I know. Yeah, I was. We've been kind of out of practice because we took a bit of time off over the holidays.
Indeed. Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year, everyone. Hopefully, this one will be. Well, look, let's be honest. It can only be better. It's all uphill from here.
I went a little downhill starting here, but we're going back up again. It's all good. It's all good. My car died 2 days in a row, so it's been a fun start to the year. But at least we have D&D, Connor. At least we have D&D.
Oh, right. Do we even have that anymore?
Virtually.
With the way lockdown's going, yeah, virtually, exactly. Okay. Sorry, I'm ending this on a really somber note. I'm fine, by the way. I'm grand. Don't worry about me. I'm just tired. It's late. It's like 10:20. Late.
Can you guess which one of us enjoys DMing virtually more, audience?
I like being in person. I have minis I need to use. I spent money on those. If you have any questions you'd like to ask, stories you'd like to share, or topics you would like us to cover, please tweet us at MicFlayers on Twitter. You can also find our podcast on YouTube and Spotify.
Indeed.
Martin, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at So Sorry It's Over, and that should be right there in the corner. Our own, as Connor mentioned, our own account at MicFlayers Pod should also be down in the bottom right-hand corner there. You can find me on Instagram at Art of Mert. And you can also find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/Mert. That's MURRT. Where can people find you?
You can find me here on the MicFlayers podcast and on Twitter at 0.Connor, ZEROPOINTCONOR. 1N, very important.
Single N.
I say on the MicFlayers podcast because you've like 3 things, and I'm like, I'm just on Twitter. So I feel like I need an extra thing. So thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you guys next time.
Cheers, guys. Happy New Year. Bye-bye.
Happy New Year.